In 1970, many people were vampire lovers. It's safe to assume that you could well be one too. My name's Stephen Archibald, and welcome to my movie podcast.
Come with us if you dare into a twilight world of unspeakable horror.
You must die. Everybody must die.
Sample, if you dare, the deadly passion of the vampire lovers. The vampire lovers. Perverted creatures of the night find their victims everywhere. The unsuspecting merrymakers in glittering ballrooms with their young and tender throats. The sleeping beauties whose troubled dreams turn into real, terrifying nightmares.
It was a cat! A huge cat!
For God's sake, save her!
Hello, welcome to They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. The Pit of Horror. The Vampire Lovers, 1970. In 1970, Hammer wanted to take full advantage of the more permissive society, and, to be more specific, of an increasingly progressive BBFC, who had reformed the X certificate to signify movies which were now meant solely for people over the age of 18. The Vampire Lovers was the first Hammer title to feature sexualised nudity, as well as being the first to overtly display lesbianism. Le Fanu's 19th century vampire story, written some 15 years before Stoker's Dracula, could only allude to it. At least two big screen versions of Carmilla existed before Hammer's production. Roger Vadim's Blood and Roses from 1960 and Camillo Mastrocinque's Terror in the Crypt, aka Crypt of Horror, from 1963. The latter starring the Hammer legend Christopher Lee. It was the American producers Michael Stile and Harry Fine who adapted the story, along with the writer Tudor Gates. They approached the renowned British filmmakers and a deal was struck on the 25th of November 1969. Tudor Gates wrote the screenplay, and he would go on to also pen the sequels Lust for a Vampire and Twins of Evil. The action unfolds in the southeast Austrian region of Styria in the year 1794, and don't get me started on the Karnstein trilogy's inconsistent timeline. Anyhow, a glamorous countess, played by Dawn Addams, entrusts her daughter Marcilla, the iconic Ingrid Pitt, with General Spielsdorf. The general is portrayed by the great Peter Cushing, in what turns out to be a significant supporting role. Unbeknown, naturally, to the Spieldorfs, Marcilla is actually the vampire, Merkala Karnstein. She soon sets to work, seducing and vampirising the general's beautiful daughter Laura, played by Pippa Steele. The same infernal scheme is carried out on Roger Morton, portrayed by George Cole, and his winsome daughter Emma, a role filled by the delightful Madeline Smith. Can the forces of good find the means to prevail? After the success of Where Eagles Dare, the beautiful Polish actress Ingrid Pitt found herself sitting next to the Hammer Supremo James Carreras at a special meal which followed on from the screening of Clive Donner's Alfred the Great. Her mild flirting won her an audition with Hammer, and she soon landed the plum role, despite Bond's golden girl Shirley Eaton being strongly considered beforehand. Ingrid was even promoted as the new horror from Hammer. An austere but oh so glamorous Kate O'Mara appears in the movie as Emma's governess, Mademoiselle Peridot, another female who falls for the unearthly charms of Marcilla. Kate O'Mara, real name Francesca Meredith Carroll, was born in Leicester on the 10th of August 1939. She had a long and varied acting career, performing great works on the stage, on television and on the big screen. She appeared in such illustrious plays as The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, Antony and Cleopatra, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Kate's good looks and talent got her parts in most of the best British TV series of the 1960s and 1970s, such as Danger Man, The Saint, Adam Adamant Lives, The Avengers, The Persuaders, and so forth. In terms of genre films, she was in Robert Hartford Davies' Somewhat Disturbing Corruption from 1968, alongside Peter Cushing. And after this picture, she appeared in Jimmy Sangster's Horror of Frankenstein with Ralph Bates. When it comes to the 1980s, Kate will forever be linked with Dynasty, or Dynasty if you prefer, and Howard's Way.
Camila! Take me with you! Please!
Mircalla!
The lovely Kate died from ovarian cancer on the 30th of March 2014 at the age of 74. Tragically, less than a year and a half after she lost her son Dickon. Still, we are left with so much of her screen work to admire. Also in the cast are the dashing John Finch, who plays Laura's fiancé, Carl Ebhardt, and Douglas Wilmer, who appears as the vampire hunter, Baron Hartog. Plus there's Ferdy Mayne, so good as the head bloodsucker in The Fearless Vampire Killers, as the respectable doctor in this tale. The Vampire Lovers was produced between Hammer, Fine and Style, and American International Pictures. AIP were best known for the Edgar Allan Poe movies they made, with Roger Corman in the director's chair. Unfortunately, AIP did not like Hammer's working methods, so they never collaborated on a picture again. On the whole, Moray Grant's cinematography is rather attractive. However, it does look surprisingly washed out at times. As in, for example, the ballroom sequence near the start of the movie. Still, the foggy, slow-motion vampire sequences have a wonderfully mystical quality about them. Due to Terence Fisher being unavailable, the excellent Roy Ward Baker was brought in to direct The Vampire Lovers. The movie was shot between the 19th of January and the 4th of March 1970. Filming took place at Elstree Studios, shown on screen as Associated British Production Studios. Outdoor work was carried out at Black Park. Moore Park Golf Club was utilised for General Spieldorf's house, and Walhall College in Aldenham stood in for Roger Moulton's. The reviews which accompanied the movie were rather mixed, at the very least. The September the 6th, 1970 edition of the Sunday Times stated, "The days of aesthetic horror seem remote," and the Monthly Film Bulletin complained, "Not up to the usual standard of Hammer offerings." Multitudes of us horror fans around the globe would beg to differ. The last word should go to the divine Miss Pitt in an interview she gave with the British magazine Shivers, number 31 from July 1996. She said, "To me, The Vampire Lovers was a wonderful experience. I loved making the film. I wish I could do it all again. I think there are one or two scenes I'd redo, but basically, I think it's one of the better Hammer films. I think Roy Ward Baker did a wonderful job." The Vampire Lovers was distributed in the UK by MGM EMI and in the US by American International Pictures. My name is Stephen Archibald, and thank you very much for listening to my podcast, They Came From Within, Cult Movie Reviews. Sleep tight and don't let the vampires bite.
No rest for the vampire lovers. No escape till their evil hearts are stilled for all eternity. If one remains, yes, even one, there will be thousands more. Beware. Beware the cold caress, the kiss that kills. Beware the vampire lovers.